Well, welcome back to our second episode of our Off the Wall podcast series. My name is Jeff. Glad you're joining us. Today we're talking about the idea of superheroes and villains, and we're going to invite some of our guests today who are respectfully just very, very well informed about comics, about superheroes, about villains. And so I'm just going to, I guess, go around here and say, for our first guest, we have Miss Mikayla Hennard.
Hello.
So welcome, and I'm going to, well, we'll get to that in a minute. But
Okay.
anything to say as we get going here, just to introduce yourself a little bit?
Introduce myself. Oh, I don't know.
Like anything fun.
Anything fun? You gotta prep me for this stuff.
It's okay.
I have no idea what's.
It's all right.
I love this conversation. I'm a big fan of this stuff.
There we go.
So.
There we go. That works.
Mm-hmm.
Trayvon Birch.
What's up?
What you got, man?
I've been collecting comic books my whole life. So
Okay.
that's cool. You know,
That's
got a lot of
There you go.
collectibles at the house.
I
The
can't.
whole crib's decked out. You know.
No, I don't. That's okay. All right. And then, of course, you all know Pastor Robert Brazil here.
Hello.
Okay, so you can give us. Go ahead.
I have 3,385 comic books, and I first
I was
started
waiting for
collecting in
that.
2013 with the DC Comics New 52 Batman Superman.
Wow.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And you have a rhythm, right? It's every Wednesday.
It's cut back to once or twice a month, but
Okay.
I do have a local comic book shop, Maximum Comics. Shout out Maximum in Las Vegas.
They are great.
And
I
they
love them.
pull certain books for me every single week, and they put them aside, and then I go pick them up.
Okay. All right. Well, to get us going, I'm just going to throw this out there, okay? The best superhero movie ever. Because I got mine. And I think
Jeff,
it's-
let's hear yours
I was
first.
gonna
It's
say,
fantastic.
I want.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
let's hear
Okay,
yours.
it is.
Let's
It's-
hear
Is
yours.
it Blade?
No, it's the.
That's good. That's good. That is a great movie though.
Blade
No,
3.
Why would you presume
Blade
it's
Trinity.
Blade?
I'm dead.
Because that came out when you were younger.
No, I thought
right?
you were making a joke there.
I was going with age. I was going with
I thought
age.
you
You
would've
took
gone-
it that
I
way.
thought you would've gone somewhere like Spawn. You know, Michael
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Whatever. Remember Spawn. But I'm gonna go with The Dark Knight. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
The
good
reason why-
one.
The reason why I
That's a
say
good
that
one.
is because
That
again,
is good.
it's the whole anti-hero kind of a deal. Like where I think Joker, he played the role so well that I was really hoping they didn't kill him in the end. Like that wanted him to actually live. But it was, well, he did live, didn't he?
He did
Yeah.
live.
Technically,
He
Yeah.
just died.
He just
Ledger
but he-
didn't, but
yes.
Joker did.
Yeah. Well,
it's
I have a
really
hot take
dark.
about that movie, but
Oh, okay, all right. But that's my favorite movie, period, when it comes to, I guess, superhero movies. So what about you guys?
That's solid. That's good. This is a hard one because I feel like I judge them in so many different categories, but I know personally, like one of my absolute top movies is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because I love that whole. Well, Miles Morales is my favorite superhero, so
But why?
I think for me,
Why? Like,
there were so many things about it that
Okay.
I liked it because I felt like it felt like I was watching a comic book, which
Okay.
was really cool. Like the whole way they did the art and the animation style, which is another something I
Okay.
love. The soundtrack was fantastic.
okay.
I love the Miles storyline. Like I've always been a fan of that, so seeing that was really cool. And I think it appealed to a wider audience than like I have a lot of friends who are just trying to get into Marvel and they're like, I have no idea where to start. Like there's a million movies, there's so many different things happening. And like this was an easy on ramp for someone who wants to get into this world, but like doesn't really know how to. So
Wow. Okay.
Solid.
So keep going, Trey. You keep going because I have questions. I have
Yeah,
questions.
questions, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So both of those movies are my top 5.
Okay.
This is really a toss up, but I'm gonna say The Batman. That came out.
Wait.
Matt
I really
Reeves,
did
Matt
like
Reeves,
that
Robert
movie.
Pattinson.
Robert
that
Pattinson,
movie
Twilight
was
Batman.
solid.
I
That
never
movie
saw
was
that
good.
one. Okay. All right.
You should-
I
you
didn't
should
see
go
that.
watch it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that
It's
one. No.
very
It's
good.
solid.
Every time I wanted to see
So
it, it's on
good.
HBO. We didn't have HBO at the time, but now we do, so I can go back.
I
and,
Yep.
dragged Faith to come see it on her birthday.
Okay.
Like on her birthday, I was like, we're going to see this movie. But yeah, that's probably my favorite comic book movie. Definitely like the best version of Batman, most comic book accurate version of Batman. Like, yeah.
Okay.
And I really like comic book accuracy in movies. So like that spoke to me. And just like being like a film nerd.
Okay.
Like the cinematography, all that stuff is just like
Okay.
It was
good.
such a good movie.
so good.
So that's your why, Robert.
So they took my top 2, so I'll go to top 3. So it goes Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, The Batman, Dark Knight's up there.
Okay.
But one of my favorite ones is also Logan, which is Old Man Logan. So when Wolverine gets older and he's like starting to age out and he like is feeling his pain and all that
Oh,
kind of stuff.
X-Men.
So X-Men, yeah. But it's like just focused on Wolverine. It was great.
It was a great
Great
It's a
movie.
very
That
emotional
arc.
movie.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I
Because
cried.
why? What made it?
I think it was. I liked that they looked at it from a standpoint like it is the end of his life essentially, and like looking at that because you always see superheroes in like their prime and everything, and that movie focused on like his end of life, and there was a lot of loose ends. I feel like they kind of tied up with that.
There
That
were,
made it
and it also
emotional.
was emotional because he took in this younger girl who had the
Yes.
same powers as him,
Yes.
and he's trying to train her up to be how he was and to be the hero, even though
Yeah.
he was kind of an anti-hero, the hero that he was. But it's also like emotional because I grew up on those movies and I grew up with Hugh Jackman Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this was, at the time, quote unquote, Hugh Jackman's last time being Wolverine. Now he is coming back in a movie in the next couple years just to do a little cameo because one of his friends
Yeah.
in a movie
In a movie.
in a movie that is
In
the
a
third in a
movie.
sequel of going to be the first
Things we're not gonna
rated
talk
R
about on
Disney
this
superhero
podcast.
movie. But he's coming
I
back
have
because
no idea
him and
what you're
Ryan
referring
Reynolds
to.
are
Okay,
best
okay.
friends.
Okay,
So
got it.
he's
Yeah.
coming back for another movie. But this was the end of his career, and he was that for like 10, 15 plus
Yeah, I was
years,
saying.
man.
Oh,
It was a
yeah.
lot.
Did you
time.
follow the whole X-Men?
Oh yeah.
I did because
Okay.
when I first started getting into comic books was in 2013, but movies obviously I was watching before that, and those movies were the early 2000s.
Yep.
So I was about 10 years old when they came out, so I started watching them around the same time I started watching Star Wars and stuff like that.
Did he ever? I'm so confused. Who was the lady in maroon that he liked a lot?
Oh, Jean Grey.
Jean
Grey.
But what was her character?
Phoenix.
The
Phoenix. Yeah.
Did that ever like end up anywhere? Or no.
It kind
it
of not in
depends,
those. If you go to
sort
like
of.
the soft reboot stuff,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
technically,
there's a lot of
Okay.
the X-Men timelines are all jacked
I was
up.
like
Okay.
super jacked
Yeah,
up.
I'm not.
All right.
X-Men's
So
not my thing.
that's
so I have no
we're
idea.
talking movie there, but greatest character,
Oh Lord.
greatest like superhero character.
Okay, so you say superhero, that's a huge like you got to define that because then Iron Man and Batman are out. They
Why?
are not super.
No.
They've
Oh, that's
created
true.
they've created their
Yeah.
suits and
Yeah.
they are utilizing utility stuff. Like if I got a grappling hook and climbed a mountain, I'm essentially doing what Batman does.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not super. So when you say superhero, my favorite superhero is Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because he actually has superpowers.
Yeah.
He's my favorite superpowered individual.
Okay. I can't go by that definition at all. That's how. I guess if I had to choose, then well, I will. Superman then.
Okay.
And I don't know why.
By that
I just
definition.
grew up with Christopher
Great.
Reeves.
So you're basic. Cool.
Which is yeah.
Pause.
That's awful.
Pause.
I would say basically. I would just say
That's my favorite too. Relax.
it's crazy though. I think I like things that are basic and original versus something we just manifest in our minds and just people start doing everywhere. But that happens. Like,
I'm so confused how Spider-Man is not original.
I know.
It's okay,
I'm also
listen.
gonna add the webs. In
all right.
Yeah, please do. That's
So
fantastic.
that's right. But Trayvon, Mikayla, what do you got? Some favorite superhero?
Okay, if we're using that definition, I feel, oh man. Okay, this is a tie between Spider-Man because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm also a huge fan of Moon Knight. I love Moon Knight.
And what-
like his
what-
abilities,
who- okay.
his the split personalities is really fascinating. Like the way that he pulls from Egyptian gods is kind of cool. Like there's a lot of things about that character, and he is super because his powers are all through.
They're through deities,
Yeah,
essentially.
they're not through the suit, whatever. It helps him, but it's not
Okay,
where
right.
he gets them. And I love Spider-Man. Miles Morales Spider-Man. That's my favorite.
Not a Peter Parker or not Peter Parker. What's the
I
dude,
do
what's
like
the
Peter
dude from,
Parker.
what's the dude from
It's Peter Parker.
Tom Holland.
no.
Yeah.
No. Who's the other guy? The guy who was on the Facebook.
on
The guy who was
Facebook.
on the
Oh my
Facebook.
Lord.
Shut up. The movie on
Andrew
Facebook.
Garfield is
Thank you.
Peter Parker. They're
Yeah,
all Peter
they're all
Parker.
Peter Parker.
Yes.
Andrew Garfield.
Miles
I
Morales,
watched-
there has not been a live action Miles Morales.
Not
No,
yet.
there
Yeah.
hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait. I'm lost, but it's okay.
Yes.
The live action because you're saying
I liked Peter
Animated.
Parker. I'm a huge Peter Parker fan. I just like Miles Morales for me feels more authentically Spider-Man just from like where he grew up in and like what he's trying to do for his city, and like it feels a lot more like connected to that side of things and like truly trying to like be there for his community. But Peter Parker's great too.
okay.
Big fan of both.
Trayvon, what you got?
I'm gonna give you both. I'm gonna give you a DC and a Marvel one. DC, Superman. Obviously, you think I'm basic. I'm not basic. Okay, there's a lot that ties into that. That was a character me and my dad, I think, had like a bond over. So there's some like there's some
Superman.
there's some stuff there. But also like I just love that character. I grew up watching like Smallville, watching all the movies, Christopher Reeve's movies, Superman Returns, all that stuff. So I just
Smallville, like a CW.
yeah, man.
Wow.
I
got
think
the-
it
I got
was
the
the
comic right
WB. I think
It
it was
was
the
the
WB.
WB.
I was
at
gonna
the
say
time.
it was
Yeah.
the
At the
WB
time,
back
it was
then.
the
Dawson's
WB.
Creek,
That's
Buffy the
crazy.
Vampire Slayer.
I haven't thought
I was
about
like,
that in a
yes.
long
I was
time.
literally
One
born
Tree
the year it
Hill?
came out.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I was born the year that show came out. So like
Okay.
my entire life, like up till I was 10,
Which was what, Trey?
What?
2000?
2001. Thank
Wow.
you. It
You were
aired
born in 2001?
Yes. So when it came out, that's when the show aired. So literally,
Okay.
it was like in my life, just whatever. And
That's
so
wild.
I just love that character.
Wow.
And then for Marvel, it's Wolverine.
Okay.
I love me some Wolverine. Grew up watching the X-Men cartoons. Like, oh, so good.
I don't know the difference between the two. Like all I know is I see a superhero and I'm just like, this is good. This is bad. Call it a day. Like I don't get the DC Marvel. I have no context.
Well, it's just publications. Like,
Yeah.
that's all it is.
Housing.
But why is Ben Affleck Batman? But there's also Christian Bale Batman. Why are the
Well,
two
that's
different?
different.
Why?
Because then once
It's
you
a
go to
whole
movies,
different
yeah, it's a whole different
conversation.
conversation. DC and Marvel is like publications. Who's publishing these characters? Who owns the rights?
Yeah.
Once you get into like why are there multiple actors portraying characters, that moves into like film studios being weird and not
Okay.
knowing what they want to do.
Okay, so beyond that, then let me flip it.
Yeah.
Or go a different route. What's our fascination with it all then? Because I frankly, I see a movie and I call it a day, but you guys are in it.
Yeah.
Like you're following the stories. You guys know the backstories. You have all like you're talking about cinematography and just like the character development. What makes it so fascinating to follow and just be involved with?
I guess I could go. Yeah, I'll go first. Why not? So for me, I think some of it is like sentimental, right? It's the fact that I was doing those things with my dad. My dad grew up collecting comic books.
Okay.
He passed his collection on to me, and then I've continued our collection and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's like that's a big part of the fascination. It's something that brings us together. I think as I've gotten older, I also just enjoy story
Yep.
a lot, and I think that's some of the best content that's being produced is like in comic books and comic book movies, TV shows, wherever you're getting your stuff. So I think, the stories, the sentimental stuff. And I also think there's an interesting aspect of like community. It brings a lot of people together, which is really
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
Like going to Comic Cons and stuff, which I've done a few times. Like that stuff is just like, I don't know. It just keeps me so hooked. Like I love it. But yeah.
Mikayla?
Yeah, I would say for me, it's heavy on the story emphasis. Like I'm a huge fan of storytelling and good storytelling and what good storytelling does for people with making them feel like included, giving community, giving space. So these are stories that I can relate to in one way or another, stories that I'm passionate about. And it's storytelling done well that I think in reality, like it's giving people a break from whatever's happening in their lives or it's giving them an outlet. But I think it also gives a solid opportunity to like be a better person through what you're seeing, like through good storytelling. It gives you the chance to like maybe notice stuff in yourself or like grow as a person. But for me, like it's the storytelling because I think that is, I'm a big reader. I love books. Like I'm a huge fan of like all kinds of storytelling. My associate's degree is in creative writing. Like I love this stuff. And so good storytelling done well has a huge impact for generations to come. And I think like what's coming out of the comic book world is going to have an impact for generations to come down the line, which is really cool to see.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the comic book pastor guy over here.
Come on.
Because I think I agree with 100% of what they were saying, but I think it goes deeper than that in the sense of two things. There's a little bit of an escapist mentality with it. So when people get sucked into a different world that's been created, let's put Marvel as an example. When you get sucked into that world, the reason you have a fascination with it is because it does give you an escape from potentially situations that you're currently in. I mean, I know like a lot of comic books talk about that or show characters who aren't the superheroes who are like, well, I want to be Spider-Man because I'm this kid that's growing up in an abusive home and my dad does this to me or my mom hits me. And if I was just Spider-Man, I could just, I could really show him. So there's an escape there, even within those movies and those comic books to the realm that those movies and comic books are set in. But beyond that, I think as humans, I think there's this innate need to want to be on the winning and the right side. So, and I think it goes as far back as Christians for us. I mean, our belief is built on that evil entered the world.
Yep.
But then Christ entered the world and overcame evil, and now we have that hope in the future.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that superheroes specifically do is it gives us the ability to watch something and say, wow, that's amazing because I don't have that in my real world life. There are no superheroes in the world, and the world is so messed up and so broken and so hurtful. And for a lot of people who don't have Christ in their life, they look at that going, dang, it'd be great if we had a Captain America.
Yep.
Dang, it would be
100%.
great if there was a Superman that could come save the world. And I think you see that a little bit. There's a TV show, and I'm not going to name it, but if you know it, you know it. There's a TV show where they put superheroes in the real world, and they showed what it would actually be like to have superheroes in the real world.
Yeah.
And it was not good. Like these superheroes, quote unquote, were not good people.
Yeah.
They utilized their powers for their gain. They utilized them for greed. They utilized them for a lot of bad things. And it's just showing you, like, look, if this was in the real world, this is what would be happening. And a lot of people didn't like that show. And I think it's because they realized what they were picturing as, oh, these people are the perfect image of what we need. They actually aren't. And I think it's innate in us to say, dang, I need somebody who is the savior. Is it going to be Tony Stark? Is it going to be Captain America? Is it going to be Batman or Superman? Whoever it is, I need them. When in reality, we're all searching for Christ.
Yeah.
Because we know that we need a hope and a future and something that's going to overcome the evils of the world.
Do you when you think about that fascination, as far as you guys articulating that, is that a common belief in people that are? I mean, you guys are really into it, into it. But is that a common belief? Do you think among people who love this stuff, or is that because you are a Christian? That's where you've started to juxtapose and see that, wow, these are the similarities.
I think as a Christian, it gives us a different level of seeing it
Yes.
parallel
Agreed.
to each other.
100%, yeah.
However, I do think that the people who are in that world and are in the comic book world, they do see it as like, dang, this really is an escapist thing for me to get
Yeah.
outside of what I live in and be put into somewhere else that has more hope.
Yeah.
I do think that is a
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
common understanding amongst people who are in the world.
What's up?
So like when you bring that up, a question comes to my head. I even talked about you in the with this in the office a little bit, because there is that like, yes, we need that character who's gonna like be our savior essentially, who will pull us out of the situation, yada yada, whatever. But over the past like 20 or 30 years, especially like now, there's just become this fascination more with the villain than the hero.
Yeah, the
People no
anti-hero.
longer
Yeah,
want
yep.
to be like.
Yeah.
People look at Superman like corny.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's like, I'm just fascinated if there's a correlation with people not necessarily feeling like they need a savior anymore. Like, you know, how people view the church and stuff, like, do those things also correlate? Because I struggle with that sometimes, because I don't necessarily like dislike those characters, but I'm just not as invested in as like a Joker or a Red Hood or all these other characters people
Yeah.
really get into that are just like anarchists and
Yeah.
just like hate the system kind of thing. But it's like, I don't know.
But do you think it's more? Okay, I'm going to push on that. I think the fascination with sometimes the going, is it the antihero, if you will?
Yeah, anti-hero, the villain.
There's a level of authenticity that comes with that. Like
Yeah.
Superman is like, it feels sometimes, again, admittedly, feels like, come on, bro. Like nobody. You say the right things, but is that how you really feel?
And I disagree with that
okay.
fully. Just being able to like, I read a lot of Superman comic books, but
Yeah.
also watching like, and Smallville will always be my go-to
Yeah.
example for Superman, just because that's the most Superman content we've ever
Yes.
had. Like that character goes through a lot of struggle.
But I
like
think-
he's not a perfect character, and I think
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
such a like.
But
I
he's
did-
not an anti-hero.
No, he's
by
not.
any means.
No, but he was just talking about like that's why
Yeah,
people
I'm
look
saying
at that
look at
character
like so. I
that.
look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the Joker, crazy, right?
Yeah, but people are so fascinated by that
I'm
character.
fascinated because he was just like, man, this is what I think. I'm gonna say and do. Like I'm gonna.
Yes.
But people
The
start to
freedom and-
idolize
yeah.
that behavior. Though.
Yes.
People idolize the Joker and Harley Quinn relationship, which is so toxic.
Yep.
No, like
Yeah,
no
100%.
joke, but like people are idolizing that,
Yep.
and then like people wonder why they're in toxic relationships. I'm like, look what you're consuming,
Yep.
and like you're feeding yourself, and you're just like so invested.
Because
into
I
that.
think that's where we as Christians have the upper hand, because we know that is not the solution, that's not the answer, but it's pointing us to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the people who don't have Christ or don't know Christ, they are looking at that going, oh, well, if that's the world I'm trying to aspire to be, then sure, that's the relationship.
But don't
I'm
you think
trying
also
to
too,
be.
like something we can learn from them though as well? Because I think when I think of the church,
yeah,
we have at times made it seem as if it's like we dress up, the goody two shoe attitude. We're the heroes, right? Like the angels. Like people look at us like
Sure.
we're the white robe. But that's how it's perceived. That's how
It is.
people
Yeah.
really
It
they
is.
walk in
It
like
really is.
I can never be a walk in your church. I'm a
No,
sinner.
right.
Blah blah blah. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like no, because I think that's the image sometimes that the church gives off. Versus, I think if we look at the guy who's the villain or whatever, at least call a spade, they can be themselves.
Right.
They know they're evil.
Yeah.
The church can admit at times, gosh, sometimes we suck and we get it really wrong.
Yeah.
We're sometimes we're a bunch of idiots and we don't always do things right. But I don't necessarily think it always comes across that way and where it's authentic, where people feel like you really do get me, but you still love Jesus versus you really don't get me at all because of this masquerade that you continue to put on and you never let us see you.
And I think that authenticity part is what is drawing people to villains right now, because they have this fascination of like, okay, I know I have flaws, I know of things I've messed up with, and these people like put them on display, and they're these major players in the story. So it's like, if I can be myself and I can be comfortable, quote unquote, with like who I am, then I'm gonna lean into that because it works out for them. And I think that's a huge part of the fascination is like, we're in an age where people just want to be their authentic selves.
Yep.
And you can be your authentic self with acknowledging the fact of like, hey, I have faults and things I need to work on.
Yep.
But we glorify the faults right now to an extreme standpoint.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things with the antihero and the obsession with it is there's also, when it's a true antihero, not a villain, there's a redemptive piece at the end.
100%.
So to be an antihero, you're not going full off the hinges and off the edge. So Logan would be an antihero, right?
Yeah.
Like Wolverine.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. He blurs the lines, kills
100%
Constantly.
people.
Yeah.
Like
But
that.
okay, I don't
brutal.
know. Okay,
Batman
okay.
is less of an antihero than Logan because
he doesn't
he
cross
has
that
lines that
Yeah.
he's not going to cross. Logan
Yeah.
does not. So, but the redemptive
Moral
part of
code.
Logan in the movie Logan is what he's passing on to this younger girl, X-23 is
Yep.
what she's called. She has the same claws as him. She's very much like him. He sees himself in her, and he's trying to teach her how to be better than he was.
Yeah.
That's the redemptive piece of Logan. And I think the reason why we love the antiheroes is because of that redemptive piece. But again, it goes back to Christ being our redeemer, and that is our redemptive piece.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of it in my head is, and maybe this is me just being like, oh, too Christian, he's a pastor guy. No, I legitimately think all of these stories we tell are coming back to the innate thing that was put into us at creation. Like, we know that's the story we want the answer to, and we're searching and searching and searching, and we're never really going to find it until we find Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, when you, no. You said something and it sparked a question and it was really good and I lost it.
Great,
But it's
move
okay.
on.
Freaking A. That's going to bother me really bad. That's going to bother me. When you look at the all these different events that we do that you guys have, like you mentioned Comic-Con. Explain what that is. Have you gone it? I don't get it. Because all I've seen is legitimately is people talk about it. I had a friend at my last church that I worked at, and he went and he was really excited about it. And I'm like looking at him like, you're doing what? Because I was clueless. So what is that?
Let me just say there are levels to this. Okay. I don't go cosplay. I don't dress up.
Okay.
I wear what you see now.
Hey,
like
but if you
different-
cosplay, like,
There's
go
nothing-
for it.
No,
you
yeah,
do
there
it. Like,
is
it's
nothing
great.
wrong
You
with
do you.
cosplay.
Cosplay meaning like you
Like,
dress
that's
dress up. Like, you
Now,
dress up.
characters.
I will say that is my goal is to go to San Diego Comic-Con and cosplay. That's the only time I will cosplay.
So
if I go
it's
to San Diego.
Halloween, basically.
Yeah, it's like Halloween year round.
But
Okay.
it's some of these people make money though. It's kind of
Oh,
crazy.
big money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. But anyway, Comic-Con, you go. It's a place to just have community, like talk to people who like the same things. You actually get to meet the people who make the books that you read.
Yep.
Which is super cool. Like I got to meet my favorite writer almost at I think every con I've been to and talk to him. And then they do cool stuff too for movies. You get to see like early screenings.
Okay.
So that stuff's
legit.
really cool. But there's like stuff for everybody there. I don't even think it's just comic books. There's a ton of like anime stuff and pop culture. Like I've dragged my mom and my girlfriend.
It's really
to both of
pop
these
culture.
things. Yeah,
It really is.
You
Yeah.
find something for yourself there. Like it's. I think people have this perception based on like what maybe movies, television, or media kind of
Yes.
portray it as.
Yeah.
and it's really not that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's so much fun.
I envision it as like the weirdo in his uncle's basement.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Here we go.
you know, just this
That's
is
a
like
stereotype.
it's
Yes.
terrible.
I mean,
Like, listen,
there are people there
listen,
that are like that, but it is a
That's
stereotype.
what's on the
though.
news. That's what's on the news.
It's rooted in truth.
That's what they're showing you. That's all.
Yeah,
They're
no,
show-
they
so
are.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not for me. So when you like, we talked about like some of these characters we can see ourselves in this. When I look at that, and I think that's what's portrayed or given to me, I'm like, I don't see myself in any of that because I want nothing to do with that. Give me a movie to watch, but if that's where it goes to, no thank you.
No, I think there's something for everyone there.
I think you have a skewed vision of it because I would push back on you and say, okay, you're invited to round 2 of the finals, Lakers playing. Are you going to that game?
yeah.
Why?
Because you're about to witness something great. You're gonna watch the goat do his thing again.
Okay,
That's all.
but beyond that, why are you going?
Because I love basketball.
You love basketball.
Yeah.
There's a community around you of other people who love basketball. It's
I would go there-
entertaining.
yeah.
You have fun. All of those same things are happening at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are people who love comic books and love that stuff. They're finding a community of people who they can talk to
Yeah.
outside of the people they normally would walk side by side with. It's the same kind of thing. If whatever you're into, I love this because we have this argument all the time,
Yeah.
and we make fun of you for your woodworking. Like, dude, you go walk
Woodworking
around
conventions.
Lowe's. You go walk
Stop.
around Lowe's,
It's
and I
far.
imagine just some old guy with a gray beard walking around Lowe's saying, "Oh, what's better, pine or oak?" But that's a stereotype.
But it's stop. This first stop. No.
The old man is Jeff.
What do you always say? We always land on there's a little bit of nerd in everybody. It
Yes.
just just matters what you're nerding out about.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'd argue again, like I mentioned this to you guys before, but like I'm a WWE guy.
Yeah.
And so all this storytelling, like this, it's fascinating because in my opinion, again, I know it's whatever, I would say the WWE is actually better than all this comic stuff. Now, because
I don't know enough about WWE to comment on that.
Because don't look at me like that, Tyler. It's okay. The history behind it all and understanding the character development of what these characters are doing and what's happening in these people.
You're literally just
you're
describing
describing
comic
comic
books.
Yeah,
no,
you are
he
though.
really
I
is.
am, but I'm saying, but this is like real life. You know what I'm saying? Like real life. These aren't.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
here,
about that.
hold on.
I don't know
First
about
off,
that.
it's not real life because
Yeah, no.
WWE is fake.
Yeah,
So-
WWE is
Hold
fake.
on.
They're
No.
just actors.
They are just. Well, no, these are athletes.
No, they're athletes that can
They're
perform.
Athletes
and,
that
Yeah.
can act.
yeah.
But
It feels like I
Bro,
would compare
what?
it to the circus.
but it's not.
Like when I think about like
That's actually really
WWE,
You
that's
think you
what comes
compare
to
it to,
mind.
to circus,
But also,
Yeah.
like, what do you're standing at home, you're watching this stuff in a singlet with a luchador mask?
No,
or
no, no, no,
practicing
no,
your
no,
leg
no.
kick.
Hold on, because
No.
I can
No,
just
no, no.
stereotype you
No,
like you
that's not- no,
stereotype
no.
us
Here's
nerds.
what happens. Like I will be at home and I'm watching. My brother will call me and say, "Hey, bro, you got to check this out." And so I'll go back and watch it. It's like a pay-per-view or whatnot, and you're watching it and you can feel like it's palpable of what's about to happen because the storytelling is so good. Because you see someone turn, they call it like a
But
baby
that's
face
because
turn,
you're so
or they
invested
call it a heel
into
turn.
it, though.
It's
Yeah.
the
That's the only reason why it's
same thing in
palpable. Because if I
comic books.
watched it, I would not care.
Same.
The entire time, I would be like, "This is so stupid." But that's how you feel if you were.
I've
reading a
watched
comic book or watching a
WWE
movie.
once, and it was when an actor that was in a superhero show went and did something in WWE.
But I'm saying it's so captivating that I'm arguing it could be, it would give comics a run for its money.
I disagree so much.
Why?
fully.
There's no because you can't world build in WWE.
What do you mean you can't?
You're just at
It's
a,
global.
No,
It's global.
There's
What do you
no
mean?
world building. We're all just showing up to this little ring to fight, and I'm a villain.
No,
you're a
there's been
villain.
100,000
I broke my
people in
leg.
these events.
No,
I
but it's
broke
all
my
okay.
leg.
But are you going to different planets? No.
Different
no.
planets.
Are you
Listen.
exploring different things? Are you going to different timelines? Are you?
The storyline is very.
It's the same.
It's a fight.
It's the same thing.
I'm a better wrestler than you.
Like it's so dumb. It's so
Hold
dumb.
on a second. We're arguing about someone who can carry a lightsaber and then someone
Okay,
who can.
first
Yes, a
off-
I was gonna
lightsaber
say-
is 10 times cooler than a dude freaking doing a backflip and landing on some other dude pretending to be hurt.
I'm gonna
You're
watch people
kidding.
fight with a
Pretending
lightsaber more
weird.
than a folding chair any
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
joking.
No.
These are people
That's valid.
getting hurt, putting their lives in.
No, they're
I
not
don't know
because
about
it's
that.
fake
No, it's
and
not
it's
scripted.
staged.
It's
No,
scripted.
No, I think no. It might be practice. These are athletes putting their lives on the line every single time.
Lord.
Every single time. That's why I'm arguing it's a bit different. That's it. Is that bad to say? I don't know. Do you guys
It's
think this is like
completely
asinine?
different.
I don't think I've
Very
ever
correlation.
heard.
And
Here's the
also, that
correlation.
argument is not like
Here's
a
my-
good argument
I've
for why it's
never heard
better.
anybody
I know.
compare
Here's
WWE
my
to comic book
correlation.
world.
We're talking about
That's new for
storytelling,
me.
right? WWE storytelling is when it's done well. Can be just it's fantastic.
Okay, can you tell me what a good story in the WWE is, please? No,
Like,
truthfully,
enlighten us.
because what is it besides
Enlighten
like
us.
this guy's been losing for 15 matches straight, broke his leg, now he's back, and he won this match and won all the money.
with his cast.
Okay, no, look, right now there's a story of I'll give you a good one. Stone Cold Steve Austin, pop culture. Like everyone
Yeah,
knows Stone Cold
everyone
Steve
knows,
Austin.
yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
The reason his story was you know who it is, don't you? Yes, you do.
You probably
Yes,
recognize him
yes,
if
you
you
do.
saw him.
I know
You know-
Andre the
you know-
Giant from
you know.
Princess Bride,
Everybody
and
knows
I
that.
know
No.
John Cena, and I know
Everybody
Dwayne
knows
the Rock
John Cena.
Johnson.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Everybody knows Stone Cold Steve Austin. It is a clear as day. But
Yep,
anyways,
sure, continue.
This dude was the guy who literally was like he would flip off his boss in the ring, the guy who's the owner, and they had this storyline where he became the guy, the anti-hero, if you will, because he said everything to his boss that all of us want to say to our bosses. Hopefully not you guys though. That we want to say that
Well, right now, yes.
So because of that, it became so real, but he was held back, held down because he kept making his boss angry, kept making his boss mad. To eventually he wins the title, and when he wins the title, he goes on this crazy run. Fans are going nuts, fans are going crazy, all because this guy could relate to everyone sitting in the stands, the low class or middle class people that had to work their way up and grind their way up to the top to finally make it. And so you're watching the story unfold over the course of about a year, and when you finally see it come to fruition, it's like, that was amazing.
Whoa. Wait, did you just describe the plot to Spider-Man?
I don't know.
Whoa. I legitimately think you just described the plot to Spider-Man.
Okay. Again, that's why I said they're similar. I just think one's better.
They're similar.
One's better.
No.
One's better.
For you.
For you. Yeah.
Because if we're going objective and we take a vote around the room, it's going to be comic books that wins.
Well, that's not because there's all comic people in the room.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're the one arguing for WWE, so it's better for you.
Yeah.
I think like better is a little bit subjective,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not objective.
Agreed.
Like you can't definitively define something in art as better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's all opinion based. So
Art is subjective.
Yeah.
art is subjective, yes, and nobody is going to argue that WWE and comic books are both a different style of art. So. It's subjective. So, like, yeah, it might be better for you, but comic books for us is better.
I would say also, and maybe I'm totally wrong on this, there's a level of nostalgia with WWE. And like that's why
100%.
people like
But that's-
like
but
the
there's
friends
no-
of mine who are super into it, like Ashley Corbin is like really into it. She grew up watching it with her dad. Like it's a thing. Like it's
But that's
a,
the same.
a huge investment.
That's the same
Oh, you
thing
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
described as well.
Yeah.
So there's the nostalgia that's attached
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Because you're talking about with comics, though. I mean, it goes back to when? When did these things start?
Earlier than
1900s.
WWE.
I would say
I know.
1950 or
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
'Cause I looked up WWE just a minute ago, was the
1920s, I
80s.
think was when the
80s,
first
yes.
ones
Well,
started
great-
coming out.
The Great Depression is really when things took off.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Because people
interesting.
were looking for
something.
an
Yeah,
escape
people
from
were- right,
They
people
were
were looking
looking
for
for
escape
good
for
stories,
reality.
and they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
cheap to produce. Yeah. That's a huge part of it.
1897.
1897.
Oh, wow.
Earlier.
For comics?
Yep.
I wonder if that's like comic strips.
The Yellow Kid. McFadden's Flats.
Great debate I put on here.
Yeah,
Interesting
newspaper.
to hear your guys' thoughts
check it
on
out.
this.
Go check it out.
No, some final thoughts, though. Batman or Superman?
You're going to make me and Trey fight, I think. Mikayla,
Are we
what
talking
do
about in
you
a fight?
think?
Okay, I'm going Batman because I love
Hold
that
on.
character.
Are you saying who would win in a fight?
I'm saying
Or
overall,
who is better?
But just a better character, just in general. I don't want storyline. I want when you look at
Bro, that's hard.
who
That
is
is
better.
really hard. I'm going with Batman.
You get one. You get one choice.
I'm
That's it.
picking
You're
Batman
taking- okay.
because I just happen to like personally for me, I like that character more than Superman. So I will naturally gravitate towards those storylines. I will consume more of that content. Like I really like that character, and Superman is Superman. Here we go.
Before Trey goes into it, because I don't want to argue him about this. I also would go Batman. A couple reasons. Nostalgic wise, I
Yeah.
liked Batman before. Comic books, I just like his books better. I like his story arcs better. I like him as a character better. But I know Trey has a very different view of why. Because here's another reason. I identify with Batman more because he's human.
Yeah.
Like because he's
Agreed.
human and he has these flaws and he has these issues. But Trey has a
he's
different
open about
perspective
them.
on that because he says he identifies with Superman more. So
Yeah, I'll bring that up. So, I want to say this first before I go into Superman. I actually enjoy Batman comic books more than I do Superman comic
And
books.
the
dang.
podcast,
Here
we're
we
done.
go.
But
There we
I like the character of Superman more. So that I get frustrated with the lack of like good content sometimes. But no, yeah. So Superman's interesting for me because I identify with his like identity issues. So the character is just really known for like not being able to like fit in. Like he's from a different planet. He's not really one of us. He kind of walks among us, but he'll never be because he's gonna outlive everyone he's around. He has all these abilities that make him so different. He can't live a normal life. And so I think as a mixed person, I call myself a hybrid. So as a hybrid, I struggle with like identity. Like sometimes I'm too black for white people, and sometimes I'm too white for like or vice versa. I don't know which one I said first, but so I struggle with fitting into these two groups that I belong to. And any space I walk into because of that identity stuff, I just like have a hard time with being like, yeah, I belong here. So it's like when I see this dude who is like practically like a god, right? Like some people consider him that in their like universe, like he struggles with the same thing I do. Like that's why I relate to that character a lot. Cause I know what it feels like to be out of place, man. It's hard, but And I just love the Christ-like aspect of the character too. I've literally read a whole book called The Gospel According to the World's Greatest Superhero. Go check it out. It's very good. But it literally breaks down like all that stuff.
Well, I think that's what's fascinating, and you alluded to it earlier, is that all of this, it's all a story that points to a greater story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And there's all these small bits and pieces of these lives, these characters, what they've gone through, their past and present, and that leads towards their future. And that's one aspect to look at it. But you look at scripturally, there's all these different characters as well, Old and New Testament alike, that literally have all these stories that somehow they intertwine.
Yeah.
And in a lot more ways than we realize. But it ends with this like wonderful, beautiful picture that we call quite.
Yeah, I would say that made me think of something about also why I think the fascination of superheroes like has been a big part of my life is because like growing up in Sunday school, like hearing about like David and Goliath.
Yeah,
like,
literally
that's literally like a superhero
though.
movie. You know what I mean?
Jonah,
Samson,
like,
Jonah, like all these
so
crazy
many stories like
characters.
that.
Like literally, I have a Samson graphic novel I've actually been reading through right now. It's really good. But it's just like there's so many characters in the Bible that are like almost like superheroes, and I think like. I don't think that gets talked about enough.
No.
I think that we could leverage that as the church too for people that are in
100%.
this space. Like, look at all these great heroes that actually existed.
Yeah.
And then eventually point them to Christ, which we're all seeking. Obviously.
Crazy, man.
So, yeah.
WWE has those human beings too.
Oh my gosh. I would love to know, is there a Christ-like figure in WWE?
Yes, AJ Styles. Thank you very much. Anyways,
Moving on.
out there. I'm with this. If I'm gonna start watching or start, I guess with comics.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna get into it,
Watching
watching or
Watching
reading.
or reading.
Okay, movie.
'Cause
All
they're
the,
two
from
different-
all
yeah.
the stuff that's been produced in the last couple decades or whatnot. Where would I start?
I have
people that are listening.
thoughts, so I'll
you go first.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go first.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually brought these intentionally.
Okay.
So if you're looking at getting into comic books,
Yeah.
I'm gonna suggest Civil War. This is a very common, famous Marvel book,
Okay.
and it's self-contained in one story.
Yeah.
So if you find it, it's like 6 issues. It's a great story. It gets you into the world.
That's a movie.
specifically. They did make it into a movie. It did not do this justice.
No,
First off,
that's way better.
so
Okay.
secondly, if you like a little bit more grittier. Grittier. Not gritty like Jeff does. Gritty like gritty.
That's a clip of Jeff Gritty.
Grittier. Go find Scott Snyder's Batman comic books. These are phenomenal. This is my favorite arc of Batman. He it's kind of dark. He really goes into it. The identity issues. Tons of good villains. He's got like 8 different like issues of that, or 8 different whole graphic novels. But movies and stuff.
Yep.
If you're just jumping into Marvel, I would suggest some of the TV shows before the
Agreed.
movies.
That's what I was going to say.
Because it will get,
Yeah.
they are pretty self-contained, and they will get you attracted to the world of Marvel, and then you can branch out from there. So like a great one, if you're a teen watching this and you're like, I just want something teen, I want something fun, go for like Miss Marvel. Like Miss
Great
Marvel's
show.
great. It's a teen who
So
gets
good.
superpowers and she's trying to figure out her life. And it has nothing to do with anything else. If you're an adult and you're like, I want to get into Marvel, check out Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's self-contained. It has nothing to do with the other
Yep.
Marvel stuff. It'll just get you intrigued into the world of Marvel, and then from there you can just branch out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think for me, pick a character. Like if you like are trying to dive into something, like find a character that you're interested in and follow that character versus trying to like, because there's lists and stuff out there that give you like, oh, this is the order to watch these movies in or whatever.
Yeah, it's linear,
but if
but
you're
you're saying it's
on a
not.
character and you're like, this is absolutely garbage, find something you care about. Like find something you're interested
Yeah.
in and start with their storyline and go from there.
Like, you know what looks bad to me, which I can't figure out why, but The Flash. I don't want to see some dude who looks short and whatever.
There's so many
I don't-
things about that movie.
I don't get it. I
so
just
much
don't get it.
drama too.
Yeah,
like
so
the
the drama
tea
is
around that
what I'm
movie
saying.
is
It's like,
Also, in
oh.
all reality, if you really like The Flash, go watch season 1 of the show, and
Come
then
on.
just stop watching.
and then
there
you're
you
just
go.
going to be
It's
done.
fine.
That was a show at one point.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, and
It
it
just
went
ended,
way too
like,
long.
last
On
way too long.
CW,
On
9
right?
years,
CW.
baby.
Yeah.
10 years.
All right, where would you start?
Okay, so I brought books too. I don't know.
Come on now.
So I'm
love
gonna
to
actually
see
start
it.
with my like more lighthearted one. This is for the younger readers or the
Aw.
middle schoolers.
Okay.
Come on now.
This is a Power Rangers and Justice League crossover.
Boom.
That's dope.
So good.
That's dope.
It's
But you
Power
didn't
Rangers-
know that happened.
Power
They've
Rangers
never
are-
done Justice League WWE.
come on. Let me just also say Power Rangers does cool crossovers with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and other stuff too.
They also have a Batman, Teenage
Yes, and
Mutant
that
Ninja
one's
Turtles.
great. But
Also
yes,
great.
this one right here, good for younger readers. I enjoyed it. The color is like awesome, super vibrant, super
Okay,
fun.
all right. Didn't know that was
Again,
a thing.
older
Okay.
readers, more gritty. Court of Owls.
Batman.
That is
Scott
Scott
Snyder.
Snyder's first
Yep.
volume of his run, and
So
it's
good.
one of the greatest Batman
Yeah.
runs.
It's like one of the reasons also why I love the Batman so much was because there are parts of this that are included in the movie. But yeah, and then if you go to like TV show or movie, kind of what you said, find a character.
Yeah.
Superman was mine, so I rewatch Smallville at least once a year. 10 seasons, 22 episodes.
AKA, that's all he watches for the year.
Yep.
Well, you've heard it first. Smallville is the greatest show ever.
Yeah, come on.
Trayvon watches it once a year, but these are all of our comic book experts. One day they're gonna make a lot of money. Just
One
with
day.
Used to write comics.
with their collection. So thanks everyone for joining us. Mikayla, Trayvon, Robert, appreciate you guys. Join us next time on episode 3 of our Off the Wall podcast. We'll see you then.